This video is about the key German structure es gibt. First of all, let's talk about the origin and meaning of the phrase. It comes from the very important and very common verb geben, which means to give. And if you conjugate the verb geben, you get ich gebe, du gibst, sie es gibt, wir geben, ihr gebt, sie geben. And this is where we get the phrase es gibt. It literally means it gives. But idiomatically or actually it means there is. Now there is can mean two things in English. We're not talking about location, like for example, there is the phone. If you want to say that in German, you would usually use something like da ist. But rather it's about the existence of something. Let's use the exact same example but change the emphasis. There is the phone, or here's another example. There's only bad Wi-Fi here. Both of these refer to the existence of something. Now let's undertake a comparison with the English, which is always worth doing with these types of idiomatic phrases. In English, we say there is or there's. Notice the contraction with the apostrophe when we're talking about one thing, when it's singular. And we say there are when we're talking about more than one thing. Although as English speakers, we have to confess we get these mixed up quite a lot and just say theirs. Both of these, however, are translated into the German phrase es gibt. So it's actually easier in this instance, the German, compared to the English. Can we abbreviate this in German at all? We can, but the only possible abbreviation is if you flip the words around and say gibt es and then contract them and get rid of the e, gibt's. And you would do that in a question if the verb is coming before the es, the pronoun, or if you have some kind of adverb in the first position in the sentence. What can you use this phrase with? You can use es gibt with either a noun in the accusative case or with a nounal phrase, including a noun in the accusative case, which is just a phrase that acts as a noun. Here are some examples of es gibt with a noun. Es gibt ein Problem. There's a problem. Heute gibt es Kuchen. Today there's cake. And this is often how the phrase is used when you're talking about what there is for a particular meal. Links von der Post gibt es einen Parkplatz. To the left of the post office, there's a parking spot. Now, here are some examples of es gibt with a nounal phrase. Es gibt nichts zu tun. There's nothing to do. Es gibt etwas zu tun. There's something to do. Es gibt viel zu tun. There's lots to do. In Berlin gibt es viel zu tun. In Berlin, there's lots to do. Hier gibt es nichts zu tun. There's nothing to do here. I'm going to give you a lot more example sentences so you see it at work. Es gibt viel zu sehen. There is a lot to see. Gibt es so etwas? Is there such a thing? Notice that this is a question, which means that the verb has to go before the noun or the pronoun. That's why gibt is first. And you could abbreviate this and say gibt's so etwas. The next one does have an abbreviation. Was gibt's Neues? What's new? Or literally, what is there new? Morgen gibt es Reste. Tomorrow there are leftovers. Es gibt noch viel zu tun. There's still a lot to do. Es gibt strichweise Regen. There's scattered rain. Es gibt kaum noch Hoffnung, dass gesund wird. There's barely hope left that he'll get better. Das ist der Beste, den es gibt. That's the best one or the best man there is. In meiner Schule gibt es viele Gelegenheiten. In my school there are many opportunities. Notice that all of these sentences are referring to the existence of something. Now let's look at some example negated sentences. So sentences which are combined with not in some form. Es gibt keine. There are none. Es gibt nicht viel Auswahl. There's not much choice. Es gibt keine Alternative. There's no alternative. Es gibt keine Wahl. There's no choice. Es gibt keine Möglichkeit, sein Leben zu retten. There's no possibility of saving his life. Hofft, wo es keine Hoffnung mehr gibt. He hopes where there's no hope anymore. Notice in this last one that es and gibt are split up at different points of the sentence because we have a subordinate clause where the verb goes to the end. And this makes it harder to recognize. But if you're more familiar with this phrase, you will see it everywhere in German and pick up on it even in these contexts. The final two examples are past tense examples. The first one uses the simple past, which is not the most common past tense in German, but is really common with this phrase because it's so short and sweet and easy to say. Es gab etwas Ärger. There was a spot of trouble. The second past tense example uses the perfect past tense, which is the most common past tense in German. Es hat viele Veränderungen gegeben. There have been a lot of changes. Notice how this one is translated by have been, which is the English perfect past tense as well, which uses the helping verb or auxiliary verb have, which indicates a present state which has arisen from a past action. The reason I put these past tenses in this video, in these two final examples, is so that you will recognize them when you see them. The last one in particular is quite difficult to recognize if you haven't seen it before, at least partly because the two parts of the verb are often separated in different parts of the sentence. But I want to encourage you to use es gab in its past tense form in all of the types of examples that we've seen in the present tense, because it can be, and it is very commonly used in German.